Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 17 of Omnifactory. Last episode, we set up our fusion reactor. And while I thought that we would be consuming fuel at the same rate we generate it, we've built up quite a large backlog of oxygen plasma and it, generally speaking, only goes up. So I'm not quite sure where my math went wrong or my understanding of the system is wrong, but we can clearly run more than 15 of these, which I guess is good news. At first I thought it was because if these are full, the machine would not void energy, but I both tested in creative and checked the source code, and it does void energy if the output is full. So I don't know, but I'm not going to complain, I guess. Maybe at some point I'll take a deeper look at the code and see if I can understand it. But for now, the takeaway is if we have to, we can run more plasma turbines. Cool. So, enough of yesterday's work. Let's get on to today's projects. I would like to improve our crafting of circuits today. So if we look at the recipes for even some of the circuits we have, let's just start with tier 1s. Right now we are using this crafting recipe, right? Using a bunch of SMD components. But now that we have Nequata, we can make system on a chip, which gives us access to this much easier recipe of making circuits. So if you look, this is made from a sock wafer, which is made from a Nequata doped wafer with a nether star lens. And these Nequata doped wafers are just Nequata doped silicon boules, which is the Nequata ingot, block of silicon, and blast furnace that with some argon for a little bit of time. So I started making these in one of our blast furnaces up here. Let's see if we can find it. Let's sleep the night away. I feel like it's always raining in Minecraft, you know? Alright, I think it's this one. Nope, is it this one? Here we go. Okay, so in this blast furnace, right, we're sending Nequata ingots, blocks of silicon, and down there, there's a fluid bus sending argon. The termination condition is having enough of these wafers, and the silicon boules that come out automatically get cut in our cutting machine, right? We automatically send it here to be cut. Cool. So now that we have those wafers, we can use them to make the system on a chip wafers. So this one, right, we have Nequata doped wafer, nether star lens, and when we have less than, I'll bump it up so that we can see it run for a second. When we have less than a threshold of them, the machine runs. And once we reach a certain number, once we reach, I guess for now, 800, the machine will turn off. Cool. And then lastly, once we have the system on a chip wafers, we automatically cut them into these socks. We have a similar process in place for advanced system on chip, which it's essentially the same thing except it uses a draconium lens, and that's running right here. So with these, we now have access to an easier way of making tier 1, 2, and 3 circuits. And I think this only goes up to tier 3. Right, so tier 3 circuits can be made with system on chip, but tier 4 circuits are made differently. Tier 4 circuits, remember right now we're using the nano and qubit CPU method, but there's this one that uses an advanced system on chip. Oh no, so it's the same method. Now these use a very high tier assembly machine, right? They use the ZPM one. So right now our bottleneck for utilizing our components, our system on chip components, is assembly or assemblers, because right now we only have access to up to insane voltage tier assemblers. To make ludicrous voltage and higher, we need their conveyors, which take styrene, butadiene, rubber. So let's say that our next goal then is to make this styrene, butadiene, rubber. It's a little intimidating. It's made from the raw dust with sulfur in a chemical reactor. The raw dust is also made in a chemical reactor from oxygen. That one's easy. Styrene and butadiene. I guess it makes sense that styrene butadiene rubber is made from styrene and butadiene, eh? So styrene comes from benzene and ethylene. We already make ethylene for our polyethylene, so we just need to come up with a way of making benzene. And looking at it, it comes from the steam-cracked variants of various fuels. Light, heavy, naphtha, and we can also get some of it from wood tar. Interesting. So let's keep those options in mind and take a look at our options for butadiene. This can, let's see, this can also be made in a distillation tower. It looks like it can only be made by distilling stuff. So light, naphtha, and heavy. So since we can, if we do one of these fuels, we can get both the benzene as well as the butadiene we need. Let's distill one of our fuels for it, and let's see which one we just have a lot of in the backlog. So coming up to our petrochem process, let's see, here we have 8 million buckets of light fuel, 17 million buckets of heavy fuel, and which one of these is naphtha? I really should label them. 36 million buckets of naphtha. So let's use naphtha to make our styrene butadiene. So I think the plan is then we will start with naphtha, and then we will have to, let's see. So steam cracked naphtha means we have to react naphtha with steam to crack it. Then we can run that through a distillation tower. That gives us a bunch of stuff. Although of this stuff, we really only care about the butadiene and the benzene. And then, so we may as well just trash all of these for simplicity. I don't think any of them have significant value. And then we just have to react these together in various ways to make our rubber. So let me go ahead and set up another distillation tower, and I'll be back right after that. Here is our distillation tower. It has to be pretty tall because the thing we're distilling has a lot of components. So what we're doing is we are taking naphtha, and combining it with steam to get steam cracked naphtha, transferring it underground to our distillation tower, which is breaking it down into its components. And of these, the only few we really care about, here we have benzene, and this one we have butadiene. The rest we're storing. Maybe we'll use it, maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I guess ethylene we'll use. Whatever, we have it now, right? And then I'll turn it off with a fluid level emitter once we have a certain amount of the styrene butadiene rubber. So now that we have the fluids, the raw fluids that we need, let's grab a bucket of benzene and a bucket of butadiene. The first step is to combine benzene with ethylene, was it? To make styrene. So that's done in a chemical reactor. Alright, let's grab some of those. So we have benzene and we need ethylene. And we have to plug it in. So once this fills up, this should start producing styrene. There we go. And hydrogen. We can just void the hydrogen, whatever. Bye-bye, hydrogen. Alright, so here's our styrene. The other thing we need is, we already have butadiene. Now we just have to combine that with, let me see if there's any need to put styrene on a storage bus. If we use it for anything other than this styrene butadiene, then we will. Otherwise, there's no need to. So it can be polymerized. So do we need polystyrene for anything is the question. Doesn't look like it. Okay, so then we just have to combine that in another chemical reactor with butadiene. And this should shortly start making... No? Oh, right, I need to... What is it? I need to give it oxygen as well? Sure. We need a bucket of oxygen and a capacity card. And does it need a circuit? It does not. So this produces the raw styrene butadiene rubber, which we then just have to react with sulfur dust. So grab this, push items that way. And you send sulfur. You can push fluids into a tank. With a storage bus. Alright, so now we have production of styrene butadiene rubber. And once we get enough of this stuff, we can turn off this contraption. So this is in millibuckets. So maybe if we have like 20, 30,000 mil. Basically, if this tank is full, then we'll turn off this contraption. Oh dear. I can't do that, can I? Alright, give me a second to fix this so I don't accidentally stuff 2 stacks of sulfur into this. Alright, here we go. So instead of pushing automatically from this chemical reactor, we're just going to use item conduits. And instead of using an export bus, I have an interface configured to keep a stack of sulfur dust in there. And then inserting into here, I just have a limited item filter set to a stack of each so that we don't overfill this. Now this is producing our styrene butadiene rubber, and we need to send this stuff into our assembly line, the one for conveyors. So the left one, let's see which of these isn't in use yet. So this export bus gets that. And with that, we can now make ludicrous voltage and up conveyors, which should mean we can make the higher tier assembly machines. Let's go craft one of those. Well, I was just barely able to request our assembly machine. If I can find it in here. Yeah, there's too much stuff going on at once. But to do so, I actually used up just about the last of our Omni coins. We have exactly 5 Omni pennies left to our name. So when we first looked into the bounty board of the Bountiful mod, right, I discussed that we can set up an MB interface to stock all these components to make it easier for us to do bounties. So let's check it out. I set this up where it'll stock a stack of most of the things, and when it's time to do bounties, I just grab the bounties, and honestly, at this point, it's just, I don't care what it is, I'm turning it in. Oh, I guess I didn't stock everything. What did I miss? Sensors. Oh. Whoops. The news is, by now, all these things are very easy to craft, so I'll come back to that one. I'm not even looking at what it is anymore, I'm just turning it in. Oh, I missed something here too. Is it sensors again? Nope. LV machine hull. So I can extend this system a little bit more just to have no crafting CPUs available. It's been a while since I've seen that error. Alright, well. Anyways, you kind of get the point, right? This makes it easier to do the bounty board stuff. Yeah, I'll be back once I'm done. Well guys, using this method, we've cleared out the bounty board. There's no bounties available. I added machine hulls, LV sensors, and vacuum tubes to our previously stocked supplies. And oh, here's another one. Don't care what it is, give it to me. Just kidding. Every now and then I run out of something, so it's like, it's a little hard to tell what I run out of at a glance. It looks like wooden widgets. So maybe this could be improved using like a player inventory or a player interface to automatically move these into my inventory. But I don't know if I'm interested in optimizing it quite so far. So the main reason I needed this was for sphelerite, for indium. So we can just do this, and that's phosphate. Where's sphelerite? And just buy the ore. Let's see how many Omni coins we got. So that's 500, this is like 600, 700. So we got like 1,000. It took a couple minutes, that's not too bad. Alright, back in a bit. And with our ludicrous voltage assembler setup, we can now make tier 5 circuits directly, which means we can use these to make tier 6 circuit, or tier 6 processors, tier 7s, which have to be made in an assembly line, I believe. And we can do this. And lastly, tier 8s. And remember, these only go up to 9, so we're getting pretty close. And I think we can... Yeah, so we can go all the way up to tier 8 right now. Pretty cool. So with tier 8, then we can make the next tier of assembly machine, which is where I want to go next. If we can make the ZPM assembly machine, right, which uses tier 8 circuits as well as a couple tier 7s in the robot arms, I think we'll be able to do all the circuit stuff that we'd have unlocked so far. So let me set up the recipes then to make a ZPM assembly. The recipe for the tier 8 circuit, which is required for the ZPM assembly machine, is it uses more than 9 items, right? If you look here, these are 10 different items. So that means we have to turn to our trusty friend, Packaged Auto, once again. I've already encoded the recipe for it here. You just take it, you can click it in. And yeah, so once you encode it, it's much like the ship here, which also uses 10 items. What it'll do is when you take this package recipe holder, put it into a packager, and you look into your network and search for the name of the item, it'll add the recipes for these two things, an index 0 and an index 1. And then you add a recipe that says these two, craft into one of these, encode that recipe, which is what I have here. And now, instead of feeding it from an interface directly into the buffer chest, you feed it from an interface, remember, on blocking mode, into an unpackager, still on blocking mode. into the storage crate. Now when we order it, what will happen is it'll take the recipe packages, send them to here, which will unpack them, send them to here, which will extract them and put them into our assembler. And if you can see, it's running now. So once this is done, we will have our first tier 8 circuit. Would you look at that? Alright, now back to crafting the ZPM assembler. Now with our ZPM assembler done being made, let's set it up to process the system on a chip recipes for tier 4 and 5 circuits. Soldering alloy, soldering fluid, same thing. And then we just have to put the recipes in here and get a fluid export bus. And then let's take the old recipes out. So let's see, we no longer need to use this recipe or this one. All right, let me double check that those are the same as the ones we put in here. Quantum processor and crystal circuit. And now we should be able to order them. So if we want, say, 100 of these, they're now much cheaper. They don't use any SMD components. It's a tiny bit of platinum and these system on a chip circuits that we've already made. And as soon as the platinum is done being wire milled, they should all get dumped in here. Oh, our wire mill is a little locked up right now because I'm crafting another ZPM assembler for tier 7 circuits. Anyways, so what we've accomplished here now is that we can craft up to tier 6 or up to tier 5 circuits directly without having to use any of the previous tier circuits and directly using the system on a chip components that our Naquada has enabled for us. And here this goes. So now we have a much more direct route to up to tier 5 circuits, and as a result, we can craft up to tier 8 circuits by upgrading the tier 5s. So next step is to look at tier 6 circuits. Now tier 6, the default tiers or the last tier 6 circuit is a little tricky to make because it's wetware based. So that means we need, instead of using soldering alloy here, we have to use sterilized growth medium, but that's not too bad. That's just raw growth medium, which is mincemeat, sugar, and distilled water in a mixer, or just that. But the other tricky thing is that this wetware life support circuit board, right, this advanced system on a chip and the wire we already make, but the circuit board here takes draconic stem cells, and draconic stem cells are made from a dragon egg very slowly in a chemical reactor, right? It takes 5 minutes to make 64 of them, but dragon eggs only come from microminers. So tier 8, tier 7, or I believe, tier 6. So tier 6 is the lowest one, and I think we have to pursue this first. So before we can get into wetware circuits and tier 6 circuit, directly making tier 6 circuits, we need to make the tier 6 microminer. Let's see what that entails. So of the stuff in here, it's a lot of Indarium, which is fine, right? Our Indarium automation is pretty robust. These we already make for lower tier circuits or microminers. These engine cores, again, it's more Indarium, but it's a long time in the alloy smelter, and we'll be thankful for our distributed alloy smelter setup once we start making these. Tier 5 circuits are easy. Fission reactor components are easy. And thrusters. Okay, so aside from being quite a bit of Indarium, this doesn't look too bad. And let's count how many total items there are. Or different items, rather. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So 9 different item types means we don't even have to use packaged auto for this. So let me get all the materials to make our first one, and then we can encode the recipe. And we're back with all the supplies for a tier 6 microminer. I'm going to set it up slightly differently this time, so hopefully it involves a little bit less manual input. I also grabbed the wrong crafting table by the looks of it, so we need the 7x7. That would be the tier 3 crafting table. Perfect. So we start, as usual, put the recipe in, leave it there, take our automation interface, put it on, before supplying it power, save the recipe, and then take the components out. And then we can put all the components back in our AE system. We'll keep our pattern, put the ME interface above the automation interface, put the pattern in the ME interface, and I always forget the configs we want for this. It's auto extract up. And lastly, we'll plug it in. Alright, we should see tier 6 microminers being craftable. Cool. When we request one, all the components are in here already, right? Because I just put them in. So the first one we get quickly, and we should see it crafting. Man, the automation interface can be slow if you just hook it directly to a ME interface. Do I use blocking mode on these? No, I don't. Okay. Anyways, in just a second, you should get the last components. And there we go. One tier 6 microminer. So there's one. Let's get another 7 so we can launch 8 at a time. This will take it a couple minutes to craft because of those engine cores, so I'll come back when it's done. And our 8 tier 6 microminers are done. I also renamed one of them for the dragon and created the pattern that will launch the mission. So I'm going to put the pattern into the microverse projector, tell the export bus to send this item, and put this back in our ME system. Now there's one very important change we have to do before we launch this mission, and that is we have to upgrade our energy input from IV tier to at least LUV tier. Because if we look at the energy usage of this mission, it's 75k RF a tick, right? And the IV tier one maxes out at 65k RF a tick or FE a tick. If we had left this energy input in, we could start the mission, but it would never finish. And the only way to upgrade the hatch is to break the multi-block, which voids your current mission. So for those of you out there that are playing along, make sure if you have an IV tier or lower energy input, before you run your first tier 6 mission, upgrade it to IV tier or to LUV tier. All right, so with that, we can now launch our missions, and let's just send all 8 on their way. So we have to make some dragon layer data, but that's not too bad. And we should observe that they are on their way pretty soon. Yep, here's the first set. And I think they're running. Alright, now they're running. Each one will get us 32 dragon eggs, so 8 of them will get us 4 stacks of dragon eggs. I'll be back when they're done. Looks like I lied. Our missions are still running, but I went to look at how we use a dragon egg, and in order to crack a dragon egg into its draconic stem cells, we have to grow the baby dragon just a little bit before we murder it, right? I guess that's how stem cell works or something. I don't know. Not making a political statement here. Anyways, so in order to do so, we need to make sterilized growth medium. That's made from raw growth medium, which is made from sugar, mincemeat, and salt with distilled water. Of these, the only thing we can't make yet is minced meat, which, while I could stick myself into the turbine blades, I'm sure, to create some mincemeat, maybe we can come up with a better way. So mincemeat is made from pulverizing chicken, which produces one, or mutton. So I guess we have to come up with a chicken farm or a mutton farm. I guess they're both roughly as easy. Let's go with perhaps a powered spawner chicken farm so that we can, spawn in chickens and then murder them for their mincemeat. So, I'm thinking we'll use the Ender IO powered spawner. Let me build one of those, and then we can just set up our, McChicken farm somewhere tucked away in the corner. Come here, little chicken. We're gonna clone you for nuggies. Get in the soul vial. Thanks. And here is McDonald's most humane chicken farm. It's humane because the chickens willingly walk into the spikes. Now, there's definitely nothing enticing them to run into the spikes. There wouldn't be an attractor obelisk in there or anything. I'm not that kind of monster. Nope. Stupid chickens. So as we're waiting for our microminers to finish, I think we have our growth medium production facility done. Step 1 is to take regular water and distill it into distilled water. Then we have to mix it with these things. They come from a ME interface with a crafting card in it. I don't know why there's not more sugar. Is it crafting? Looks like it is. Okay, so that's fine. In the mixer, to keep it from getting jammed, we have a limited item filter set to only put 1 stack of each in. It mixes the salt, mincemeat, and sugar with distilled water to create raw growth medium, which we're storing in a tank. Then we take the raw growth medium, heat it into sterilized growth medium, and when we get enough sterilized growth medium, and enough is defined as 10 million buckets, we turn off the mixer. So that's pretty simple. I feel like we should have more sugar. I suspect I put that recipe in the wrong place. Let's find out. Sugar is in the... Oh, I think I know what happened. I had to add more interfaces because I ran out of room. Yeah, I ran out of room on all the interfaces on this storage crate, so I put another crate for it and interfaces on it, but I forgot to actually, hook it up. Do I have extracts? I do. Oh, just one. Let's take it. There we go. And I should put it on round robin. There we go. Now our sugar should be producing. So now that our sugar automation is running again, we can once again start this process back up. So now that we have some raw growth medium, let's check on our dragon eggs. All right, looks like we have 4 stacks. So all 4 stacks of them are done. So to turn them into stem cells, we need 10 buckets of that, an egg, and a ludicrous voltage or higher chemical reactor. All right, let me go grab a ludicrous voltage chemical reactor. No, I have to make ludicrous voltage pumps. That'll be some work. Oh well. So let me go grab a ludicrous voltage chemical reactor, and we can start cracking us some dragon eggs. Now that we have the means of incubating our dragon eggs, we can incubate a dragon egg in sterile growth medium and then extract its stem cells. This process, as I said, takes a long time. Since we are not overclocking it, it takes 5 minutes per egg. So it's important that we get it started now and just let it run in the background while we're doing other stuff and, when the server's up and we're not playing. Now, after this turns the egg into stem cells, let's rewind a bit. This ME interface supplies eggs, circuit boards, and stem cells. What we do is we take the egg and put it in here. And because eggs are reasonably valuable, we only put in one at a time. What we do then is we incubate the egg and extract the stem cells from it. And then the stem cells get put back into the ME system. Then we supply them once again from the ME system into this interface where they get moved into this chemical reactor where we react the stem cells with the multi-layer fiber reinforced circuit board in sterilized growth medium, and that produces these wetware life support circuit boards. Both of these machines are configured to turn off at certain thresholds. Effectively speaking, I never want this machine to turn off, but I just have this threshold set very high. If for whatever reason we end up with 500,000 draconic stem cells down the road, fine, you can take a break. But until then, you gotta work all the time. Sorry, buddy. This machine, I just have it configured to turn off at 5,000 boards. Again, these processes are extremely slow, so we do not want to do them on demand. These have to be processes that we do before we need the items they produce. A byproduct of this is that it turns some of this sterilized growth medium back into raw growth medium, right? 4 buckets of it get turned back into 3 buckets of raw growth medium. I store it back in here where there's a storage bus on it, and that'll cause it to get put back into here and recycled into sterilized growth medium once again. So this system produces both stem cells, which are used all over the place, and these wetware life support boards, which for now we'll use to make our first set of wetware circuits. So let me get our extra assembler. I crafted an extra ZPM assembler earlier so that we could use it for this. Let me go ahead and rename an interface and get that set up. Last but not least, we have our ZPM tier assembler set up, stocked with sterilized growth medium, and our recipe for wetware processors in it. Let's order up our first set of wetware circuits. Let's start with just 4. And we should see that once the wires for it are made or whatever, this should spin right on up. There we go. And it's crafting. So once these are done, I'll add it to our auto stock keeping system to make sure we have a healthy number of these in stock at all time, because we'll need them. Well, I guess I should put them in the ME system briefly so that it's happy that we've made them. So I'll start up another 16 just because that's all the boards we had made already. Right, we can come over to here. Into this level emitter, we'll say, again, keep 1,000 of them. We'll use it, don't worry about that. And this will craft it. They'll dump it into this chest where they'll get sucked into the ME system, and we'll put one here as a sign. Alright, so this episode we managed to upgrade our circuit production a whole hell of a lot. We can now produce up to tier 6 circuits directly, and we have access to up to tier 8 circuits for various machines. Let's call this here then, and then next time we'll come back and put these circuits to use, maybe do some draconic evolution. How does that sound? So I hope you liked the episode, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.